well. But again, this is the rotation we're showing just outside, just south of Milford Center, it appears at this moment, and that's going to continue to push off towards the east at about 30 to 35 miles per hour. So I will zoom in here for just a second, and then I want to go back to Joe, because besides the possibility of seeing the tornado with this, we could also have some large hail and some very heavy rainfall moving in towards the city with this tornado warning cell. But you can see here's Milford Center right now. We are sitting about, let me see if my tracker here will work for this, but you can see where Milford Center is here on the map. I'm going to go down and just track how far the distance is here, and we're talking maybe a mile or two. That's it. Just to the south of Milford Center is where we're seeing the rotation starting at about 2 to 3 miles south. The core of it about 5 to 7 miles south of Milford Center, and that puts it on a direct track with Plain City in about 10 miles. So we're talking about 10 to 12 minutes into Plain City. So if you are in Plain City, you need to be getting to your safe spot immediately, because this is going to be a dangerous cell. Again, this has been a cell that earlier this evening did have a confirmed tornado with it and has been going between showing tornadic rotation. It weakened a little bit. Now it is getting a little bit stronger again this evening. So if you are in Plain City, if you are in Jerome, Dublin, Powell, you need to be heading to your safe spot right now, because this is a very dangerous cell. The possibility of rotation showing up with it, tornadic rotation, and it is going to continue to move towards the north side of Columbus, right along Highway 161, right in this area. So again, this is where the cell is, just south of Milford Center. Here's 161, and basically that's where that cell is going to be coming in over the next 15 minutes or so. So you need to be heading off to your safe spot if you are in southern portions of Delaware County, southern Union County, northern Madison County, and northwestern Franklin County this evening with this tornado warned cell. Now, Joe, you were looking at a couple of areas of rotation I noticed on storm winds this evening.
Yeah, switching over to the radar site that we have out of the airport over here in John Glenn. So that is giving us kind of a better glimpse as the system continues to get a little bit closer to downtown Columbus, again around areas of southwestern Delaware County here as well. So like you saw, Dave had kind of a better picture, as this is still a little bit farther of a glimpse away, but we're starting to see that rotation come into view farther over to the west of Plain City here as well. So still looks fairly tight, still looks fairly fast as well. So not a great sign as this continues to stay as a tornado warned storm getting into parts of Delaware and Franklin County here as well. But now we can switch back over to the hail path. Again, that's been a very common threat that we've seen with these storms as they've been tracking through over the past couple of hours. Again, can see that stayed consistent mostly as we've gotten into the southern tier of Union County here as well. So far south of Marysville is where we're looking at very steady possibilities of seeing some of that moderate to large size hail coming along here as well. Again, to at least get a severe thunderstorm warning, you need a hail size of about 1 inch in diameter, so that's similar to the size of a quarter. But we've been watching, especially in this tornado warned storm, the chance for severe hail continues to go up and up and up. We're now sitting at 80% chance of seeing that, and the estimated size continues to go up, where in the last scan we had a possibility of seeing hail about the size of a ping pong ball. Well, that's what we're looking at right now. But earlier we saw about a $half size. Earlier than that was just a quarter when we were meeting the threshold for a severe thunderstorm warning. So hail continues to grow in size, or at least the estimates of it do, as it continues to move farther over to the east, getting closer to the metro area. Again, still a ways away from Plain City, but only by a handful of miles. So if now is the time that you're getting this warning, now is also the time to seek shelter. There are multiple ways to get weather alerts, both on our website. We have that QR code here that you can scan on the TV screen right now, especially if you're one of these tornado warned cities and you have to reach your safe space. You don't have to take the TV with you, but you can take your phone, tablet with you, and you can also take us with you as well. So you can still listen, at least get scans of the radar as this system continues to track along this tornado warning. So Dave, at least when it comes to the hail path, it looks a little bit spottier compared to the other tornado warning storms that we've seen so far. But again, at least with this one, the estimated size continues to go up compared to the other ones.
Yeah, and that's been a concern, like you mentioned, during the day today. Off towards the left side of the screen here, that is the live ODOT camera at US 33 and US 36. That's the Marysville exit right there. And it is looking, it's got to be looking, it says to the north, that's just to the northeast. It's got to be looking off towards the south. You can see where the stronger storms are right now. And wow, that's interesting looking at that. On the far right side of that screen, there is some lowering, it appears, also on that far right side of the screen. You'll notice in that traffic camera right there. Wow, that basically what we're looking at is right in this area here near Chuckery. And so, yeah, we're going to take a full screen for a second here. And maybe between the lightning flashes, yeah, we're not noticing anything. Okay, we're fine. We can go back to the radar for a second. We'll keep an eye on that. But again, what we are watching right now is this rotation right in this area near Chuckery, right along US 36, or near 36, I should say, near 161 right here. That is the rotation that we are watching. And that is moving right in towards Plain City. So if you're in Chuckery, if you're in Plain City, over in Union and Madison County, southern Union County, northern Madison County, you need to be at your safe spot immediately. Get there right now. You can listen to us, crank the TV up if you have to, but go down to that lowest level of the floor Joe was mentioning. You can take your phone with us, NBC4i.com/weather alert to be able to watch. We've got the QR code on the bottom of the screen. You snap a picture of that, you can go right to the site. But this is what we are watching right here. You can see that rotation showing up where we got the greens and the reds right near each other. And this tornado warning cell is going to basically travel right along 161 near Plain City and eventually taking it over towards Dublin. I'm going to zoom out just a touch here for you. We're going to put on a storm tracker here and track out the timing of this as it moves off towards the east at about 35 miles per hour. And that will take it right near Plain City at 10:29 tonight, so in about 8 to 9 minutes. That means you need to get to your safe spot now, not wait 8 or 9 minutes. You need to get there now. Hilliard, 10:40 tonight. Shawnee Hills, 10:41. Dublin, 10:42 this evening. Powell, 10:46. Upper Arlington, about 10:49 this evening. And Worthington, we're looking at about 10:50 to 10:51 as it will cross over US 315, or I'm sorry, State Route 315, and eventually US 23, and continue to pull off towards the far north side of Columbus at this moment. So again, I'm going to switch over radar for a second here, show you what we are looking at. If you are tuning in right now, 10:20 tonight, you are likely, if you are in Franklin County, especially the north half of Franklin County, north of downtown Columbus, hearing the sirens this evening. We are watching on live Viper radars. We have a tornado warning cell. Tornado warnings are in effect for northern portions of Madison County, southern portions just south of Marysville, southern portions of Union County, also the southwest corner of Delaware County, not including the city of Delaware, near Lewis Center. Powell, you are also under the tornado warning cells. Just south of Ostrander, if you are near Dublin, Hilliard, Worthington, Upper Arlington, you are all under the tornado warning at this moment, including northwest portions of the city of Columbus. From about downtown on north, we are under now this tornado warning that extends until 10:45 tonight. So again, if you are in this area, and I'm going to take off this tracker for just a second here because it looks like there's a lot of clutter here on this map. And I've also, I should note, taken off the tornado watches that were showing up in the yellow just to kind of give you guys a little bit cleaner look on the map. We don't have the lightning on right now. If I turn the lightning on, you'll notice there is a ton of lightning in this area. So it's going to be very difficult to see what's going on outside. You're going to see a lot of flashes, as we saw just a moment ago in that traffic camera. You're going to see a lot of lightning flashes. There's a potential for seeing upwards of maybe about quarter-sized hail, and the winds are going to be very gusty. So this is going to make it very loud outside this evening. And of course, you'll probably hear those sirens going off at this moment. So we are going to stay with you here on this. We're going to continue to track this storm as it moves across the northern portion of Franklin County. Still at this point, you have a couple of minutes until it is actually in Franklin County. This storm still showing rotation with it. I'm going to zoom back in here. You notice right near the Plain City area. Let me switch over the radar product here. You can see the radar winds. That is right near Plain City where we're starting to see that rotation showing up. You can see it right here on live Viper radar. I'm going to switch over radar sites just a second here and try to pick up out of the airport here in Columbus. Yeah, you can see kind of the same area right here near Plain City. That's where we are seeing that rotation showing up. As far as our storm threats go tonight, notice most of this showing up in this light pink to a darker pink. That's about 1/2 inch to 1 inch diameter hail. But this area right here in this red, just outside of Plain City, that's about a couple seconds behind here. That's going to be the stronger winds associated with the rotation showing up. So the possibility of winds at 60 to 70 miles per hour and moving right along Highway 161 here. So as I turn the radar back on, you will notice this is a very big cluster of thunderstorms that we are watching. It is already starting to rain pretty heavily in portions of Powell, getting over towards Worthington, near Westerville, Lewis Center, Dublin, Hilliard. We're already starting to see the rain picking up in this area. The rotation, or what is a tornado warned in this cell, not quite into the city of Columbus or Dublin or Hilliard cleared yet. That means you have a couple of moments to grab your stuff, grab your phone so you can listen to us, turn up your weather radio, whatever it might be, turn up the television, grab a blanket, get to that lowest room of the house as possible. We're talking about basements. Bathrooms, interior rooms that do not have outside walls, especially western-facing walls. That's where the storm's coming from right now. Southwest-facing walls, you want to be away from those. So an interior bathroom or an interior closet on the lowest level of your home or your apartment is where you want to go to be safe from this storm. We're showing rotation showing up as this is moving off towards the east. We'll storm track this again for you right now as this cell is near Plain City at this time. Still showing the hail size near about 1 inch diameter, about quarter-sized hail, showing the tornado index, that's that number right there at 6.9. That number has not wavered much at all over the past 20 minutes, which is showing some concern that this cell may be staying together pretty well. We've been watching the rotation with it as well. So this is concerning that we're still seeing the strength of the storm as it is moving towards the north side of the city. So again, if you're in Plain City, it's basically on your doorstep at this moment. Jerome, we're looking at 1038. Shawnee Hill's still 1041. Dublin, 1042. Powell, 1046. And we're going to continue to watch this moving towards Worthington eventually by about 1050 tonight. I want to show you another camera shot that we've got outside right now. This is, I'm sorry, Todd, where was this again? 33 at Post Road. You can see there, obviously some lights coming in there, but you can see all of the frequent flashes. We have got a lot of lightning out there. So again, power outages could be a concern as well. I'm not noticing any of the flashes actually on the ground. That would give a very good indication that there's a tornado on the ground in this area. What we are seeing is flashes in the sky right now, and so that's an indication of just all of that lightning. Obviously, if there's flashes on the ground, that's a tornado hitting something on the ground and causing power outages. We're not seeing that yet, but you notice we are watching this strongest part of this storm basically coming right down 161 right now. And what are you looking at just to the south also there, Joe?
Yeah, so farther a little bit south of this line is where we're looking at a confirmed tornado warning. That's a little bit closer to Cincinnati, but again, right around the corner from where this is extended was recently extended over into Wilmington, and right around the corner is going to be Fayette County and Washington Courthouse as well. So again, similar to what we're looking at in here in the metro area and a little bit over around Madison and Union County was a tornado warning that we were watching getting closer to our area with keeping that rotation. And now that's somewhat of a situation that we're continuing to watch a little bit farther down to the south. But this one continues to hold that confirmed ranking here as well. Not because we've seen anything touch down, but we have seen pretty clear signatures on radar that have shown us that there is likely a tornado still in the area. So that's why we're getting the purple shading instead of that traditional red. This has been extended out of Warren County. It will now go over into Clinton County up until about 11 o'clock this evening, putting it in line to where our radar is stationed over in Wilmington as well. So the timing of this one, again, still a ways away from Fayette County at the moment. Timing will keep it out of that area up until likely when that warning will expire, or if it will be maintained as well. But Clarksville at 10:34, Wilmington at 10:51. That'll be about 9 minutes until we see this expire. But you can see that rotation still pretty clear in that area. And just like we've been doing in the one over in parts of western central Ohio as well, you can watch how the rotation has still remained fairly coupled, even if it wasn't a tornado warning at the time. That's what it started with when it made its way here into Ohio. But we watched that coupling move a little bit closer to around Lebanon, south of Middletown, and now it's got that tornado warning with it as well as it makes its way over into Clinton County, and then eventually getting a little bit closer to Fayette County here as well. Lots of rain coming along with this one here as well. Can see those heavy rainfall rates stacking on top of this. And then like with the other tornado warnings that we've seen, there is a pretty defined hail path stretching in behind this one as well. Hail not entirely too bad of a risk with this tornado warning that we've seen compared to the one farther up to the north. And now it looks like they've extended it a little bit farther down to the south to include a little bit more of Clinton County south of Wilmington, but this time not carrying that confirmed tag with it. This will just stay at that traditional tornado warning as it continues to move farther over towards the east. Again, potential counties to be put in line with this would be Fayette County with Washington Courthouse. You're about 15 to 20 miles away for the southern edge of that county, and then a little bit farther over to the east would be Ross County, a little bit closer to around Chillicothe here as well. That distance would put a lot more time between where we're seeing the actual coupling of that rotation between what it would look like if it made its way over into Ross County. That's putting you about 40 miles of distance, but again, we're all under a tornado watch, so now is the time to start getting ready. It's late likely not until you see that tornado warning that you want to start putting your plan together. So now that we have these right around the corner, now is the time to start putting that plan a little bit more into action, getting ready in case these tornado warnings start to get extended a little bit farther over to the east, especially with the new timing that we continue to get. Again, Wilmington a little bit earlier at 10:47, New Vienna the same thing at 10:57. So both of these putting in the timing of what we're looking at with that tornado warning, carrying us a little bit closer to around 11 o'clock this evening. But as far as the other line of storms and showers that we've been looking at so far here across this area, that's the only other cluster that we're really looking at here across Ohio as a whole, the one in southwestern Ohio that's mainly a problem so far for parts of Wilmington and Cincinnati here, as well as the other system that Dave has been tracking over the past couple of minutes, the one that's a lot closer here in the metro area, Dave.
Yeah, Joe, and I noticed as you were explaining that south to the south, we'll have to look, they were mentioning that they were seeing debris showing up also on radar with that one. So again, if, as Joe mentioned, if you're in Fayette County, you need to be getting ready right now. The camera off towards the left of me here, this is 3:15. Just near Powell at this time. That's 3:15 near Powell. You can see the rain's coming down, lightning, very heavy. We're seeing frequent lightning, I should say, and heavy rainfall in that area. This is basically just off towards the immediate east of where the strongest part of this cell is right now, which is moving away from Plain City, basically traveling right down 161 to the east, heading in towards Hilliard, Dublin, Powell, and eventually over towards Worthington. So again, we have this tornado warned box that extends until 10:45 tonight. For the next 15 minutes. It does include southern portions of Delaware County, also northern portions, northwest portions of Franklin County from about downtown Columbus and on north. Notice most of it right now, if you were to draw a line from basically near Ohio State's campus over towards Hilliard and then back off towards the west, that's where the bulk of this system is at this moment. So it is still traveling just about due east at this time. I'm going to switch over radar winds here for a second and show you what we are looking at. And it's basically in this little pocket right here. Let's see if we can get a little bit better look right now from the radar out at the airport. And it is still continuing to move in right in towards Franklin County. So it's right in this area, right along 161 that we've been watching that rotation as it continues to move into the county. Let's see if we get a better look of it right here. And you can see that rotation's kind of broadened out a little bit near Plain City. So we'll keep an eye on that very closely. Obviously, this is a very dangerous cell, and a very dangerous cell for the fact that it is entering into an area of high population now as it's moving in towards Hilliard, Dublin, Powell, over in the northwest corner of Franklin County, and traveling between about 161 right here and the north outer belt at this time. So near Shawnee Hills, we're also going to continue to watch this moving towards your backyard at this time. So let's go back over to what we are looking at as far as threats go with this. And again, notice that we are seeing most of this area shaded with purple. That's the possibility of seeing about half-inch diameter, so roughly penny-sized hail. But one of the other things that we're looking at very closely here, just south of Plain City right here, are winds upward, severe winds, about 58 or less miles per hour right in this area. And we've been noticing this kind of pulsing between about 60 to 70 mile per hour winds possible as it pushes off towards the east this evening. Again, we have tornado warnings going until 10:45 tonight. Right now we are watching as this severe storm is starting to make its way into portions of Franklin and Delaware County. So we'll track this out. Hilliard 10:42, it's showing into Hilliard. Dublin 10:45, Upper Arlington 10:51. We are looking at Marble Cliff at 10:52 and over towards Worthington at 10:53. One of the interesting things that we've been watching, tornado index number with this one, that one's showing up at about a 4 on that tracker right there. Let me see if I can track this one. Yeah, about a 4.1 and a 4.1. So that's what we're seeing right now. That number has gone down. And as I mentioned a minute ago, we were looking at the storm winds, and I mentioned that the circulation appeared to be broadening out just a little bit. This would be a good indication that we're seeing more of a straight line wind if this number continues to go down. What I'm trying to get at here is if you are in the north part of Franklin County, North Columbus, if you're near Hilliard, Dublin, regardless of whether the rotation makes its way to the ground or not, we could have some pretty strong gusty winds. There is also the possibility of seeing some small to moderate sized hail with this blowing around along with a lot of rain as well. So this is still going to be a dangerous cell at a minimum. It is still tornado warned through 10:45 tonight as it pushes off towards the east, and this will be a dangerous cell moving through the northern part of Franklin County and southern portions of Delaware County. Just to the south, it looks like, of Powell, just near Lewis Center as well. So again, if you live in these areas, you need to be in your safe spot. I know it's not convenient at 10:30 at night to be heading down to a basement or a closet, but the goal is to make sure that everybody is safe as this storm continues to push off towards the east this evening. So again, if you're checking in with us right now, 10:34, almost 10:35 this evening, we are continuing to track this strong thunderstorm that is moving in towards the southern portions of Delaware County, just south of Jerome, north of Dublin and Hilliard. It's going to be traveling right along between about 161 here and the north outer belt, crossing crossing Riverside Drive right here and eventually crossing over 315 in the next few minutes and then pushing over across I-71. We're going to watch in this area as there is the possibility of a little bit of small hail with it, also the possibility of rotation. I have not noticed yet, Joe, and I don't know if you've seen anything yet, what they are planning on doing as far as extending this warning out, because we're kind of getting towards the far edge of this warning at this point. But again, if you are over in Minerva Park, Westerville, New Albany, Johnstown, you eventually would also be in the line of this very strong thunderstorm. Whether it continues to be tornado warned or severe thunderstorm warned, you need to be prepared also down the line as it continues to push off towards the east at about 30 to 35 miles an hour. And Joe, you're looking at something interesting there on Storm Tracker right now.
Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of pick up off of what you said earlier with that tornado index, where we've kind of seen some of the rotation with it kind of putter out a little bit. Tornado's not perfect. We typically see them kind of press the gas on and off a little bit, and that's where we saw with that tornado warning that mostly carried up off of Champaign County. That's where we've seen the most concrete example of some of that rotation path. That's where we've seen a lot of these reds clustered together, not exactly seeing any yellows, but then once we got into a little bit northern tier of Madison and the southern tier of Union County, that's where we're looking at a little bit more green starting to mix in here as well. So why that tornado index number starting to get down a little bit is why we're seeing some of that less rotation, or at least less concentrated toward rotation. What we've seen come out of the last couple of minutes has been a flood advisory. Again, we've been tracking the rainfall rates coming along with these storms here as well. So that flood advisory is pretty much going to carry for areas that have seen and been included in this tornado warning so far. So that's parts of southern Union County, northern Madison County, northwestern Franklin County, and southwestern Delaware County. So that will include Delaware City, stretching over into Sunbury here as well. So we can switch over to the rainfall rates that we've seen come along with this one over the past couple of minutes. And again, where you're seeing these pinks is where you're getting closer to about 5 to 7 inches of rain in just the span of an hour. Now again, we're not looking at the storm sitting in the same spot for about an hour, but that means you're going to get close to a couple of inches of rain stacking up. Where we're looking at more of these reds, these yellows coming in, is where we're looking at, again, some of those lower rainfall rates. So you're getting about a little bit closer to an inch in an hour, and then of course where you're getting over in the blues is where you're seeing even lower rainfall rates, where maybe even half an inch, maybe even 1/10 of an inch is a little bit more generous. But again, spots a little bit closer to the center of the storm where we're seeing those pinks. So the edge of Plain City, north of Dublin, Powell, Jerome here as well. That's where you're seeing a lot of those heavy rainfall rates coming in. Again, this is estimating about around 7.5 inches of rain in just the span of an hour. That's really a little bit closer in between Powell and Jerome here as well. So what we've been talking about with the visibility that's been possible, especially when you're seeing these higher winds coming in, whipping a lot of that rain around, that is really going to drop visibility. And especially if there's a funnel cloud or a tornado that's trying to move around in that area, becomes rain wrapped with this amount of rain, becomes even harder to see. So that's why it's always best, as soon as you get the polygon issued, as soon as you get the alert issued to your phone, that's when it's time to seek the safe space. Not when you start to hear the winds pick up a little bit more, when you start to see more rain, or when you see the actual tornado itself. You need to get safety as soon as those alerts come out here as well. So zooming out to the area, we can see a little bit more of the track that we're looking at here over the next couple of minutes. National Weather Service not saying quite yet whether they want to extend this tornado warning past 10:45 or to let it expire, or to pick it up again as a separate warning as it makes its way over into the eastern parts of Franklin and Delaware County. But Dublin expected to see this at 10:44, so that will be right at the tail end of that warning, but extending it past it. This storm is still going to stay present whether it keeps that tornado warning or not, so we're still going to see the hail threat, the high winds, and the heavy rain coming along with it. So Powell at 10:47, Worthington at 10:52, Riverly at 10:52 as well, and Orange at 10:54. So even once we get closer to the 11 o'clock hour, whether this keeps that tornado warning or not, there's still the possibility that we're going to see some severe impacts coming along with this as just a traditional severe thunderstorm, once it makes its way a little bit farther over to the east. Again, the timing of that is moving a little bit farther over eastward at about 35 to 40 miles per hour. The hail threat still remains high, but that severe hail threat continues to get a little bit farther down towards those lower levels here as well. Still looking at those tornado warnings a little bit farther to the southwest here at the moment as well. So, Dave, at least the one that we're looking at here for central Ohio and the one in the metro area, looks like National Weather Service likely will let this one expire or pick it up a little bit more later on as a separate warning.
All right, so again, this evening, we're watching right now at about 10:40 this evening on live Viper radar across our area. We have a couple of tornado warning cells across central and southern Ohio. On the left side of your screen right here, our Kyle Beachy is up near Powell. He was on 315. I'm pretty sure this is not 315 anymore. It looks more like a residential neighborhood in that area. We are continuing to watch, and I'm hearing someone's siren from their phone, but we are continuing to watch as we've got tornado warning cells. There it is. There is our new tornado warning. So let me stop this for a second. It's our phones here at the studio that are going off. We have a newly issued tornado warning here that does include Franklin, Delaware, Licking counties now until 11:15 tonight, and does include basically the same area just north of I-70 in this area, north of I-70, north of downtown Columbus, and all the way up to about Lewis Center and just south of Sunbury and Galena right now. We are under the tornado warning. So US 36-ish is the northern part of this tornado warning box. I-70 is the southern portion of it, and it extends all the way over towards Pataskala and Johnstown. We just mentioned a few moments ago that if you are in this area, especially northern Franklin County, southern Delaware County, you need to be prepared to head to your safe spot right now, and that's what you should be doing. So again, we are watching very closely right in this area. You can see near Dublin, that is where we are seeing the rotation showing up on this map right now. You can see it right here near Dublin is where we have got that rotation, and that's going to continue to push off towards the east at about 35 miles an hour. That is going to be traveling right along the northern outer belt here. So again, if you are in this area, and I'll put a storm track on this for you, but if you live in northern Delaware or northern Franklin County, if you are near Dublin, Westerville, Worthington, New Albany, you need to be heading to your safe spots right now. As it says here, Dublin, the storm is right over you. Worthington, 1050, Riverlea near 1050. Also Minerva Park about 1053 tonight. Clinton Township at 1057. Minerva Park now 1057 as well. Westerville, we're looking at about 1055, and over towards Gahanna around 11 o'clock tonight. Same thing for you in New Albany. So if you are in these locations, you need to be heading to your safe spot immediately. We also have a newly issued, so Joe was just mentioning a minute ago about thunderstorm or tornado warning. It looks like down to the south, Ross and Fayette counties have been put under a severe thunderstorm warning, not a tornado warning yet for that storm. But again, that is something we will watch very closely for you because that has been a dangerous cell. Obviously, we had a confirmed tornado tag with that cell just a few moments ago, about 10 minutes ago. So we'll watch that very closely. But right now, what we are watching for is this very strong thunderstorm that is tornado warned for about a good half of Franklin County at this time. If you are hearing the sirens, you live in the city, you are hearing the sirens at this time, that is your notice, along with seeing Joe and myself on the air, that you need to be heading to your safe spot right now. Just to recap, safe spots: basement, lowest most room of your home or your apartment. If you don't have a basement, many of us may not, you want to head to that lowest bathroom, first floor bathroom. That's why I say lowest, not the second floor. You want to get to that first floor if possible. Bathroom, an interior closet if you don't have an interior bathroom. If you have a bathroom that faces the outside and has a window to the outside of the house, no good. You want to get to that interior closet, get as many walls between you and the outside of your home as possible. Crank up the TV if you have to so you can hear what I'm saying, what Joe is saying. You could also download our Storm Team 4 weather app. You can also click the QR code, which should be on the bottom left of your screen there. Take a snapshot of that and then watch us live from your phone. We are going to continue to track this. This is a dangerous cell this evening. We've been watching this one very closely as it's been basically up and down all the way from the west, and I'll show you that in just a second where we've been seeing rotation, and that is now right near Dublin and almost near US 33 in Dublin, near that intersection there, and that's where it's continuing to move near downtown Dublin. and that's going to slide right down 161 and 270 here over towards eventually Worthington and Westerville. It's moving at about 35 miles per hour. Here's the problem. It's going to sound loud outside regardless of if this rotation is actually on the ground or not, because we have a ton of lightning that is showing up in this area right now. Let me turn our lightning tracker on here, and you can see all of this lightning just from the past 15 minutes showing up across this area. We're also seeing very intense rainfall and some hail possible as well. So all of those things combined are going to make it very difficult to hear what's going on outside this evening. Notice again from Powell towards Dublin, Jerome, back towards Hilliard, we're seeing this purple shading. That is for hail, possibly up to about let's say penny to quarter-sized hail. Also showing some winds possible of upwards of 60 to 70 miles per hour as this is pulling through Dublin at this time and moving along 161, eventually crossing over 315, and then moving into Worthington as well. So this is your notice right now that if you are in northern portions of Franklin County along the northern outer belt, you need to be getting to your safe spot immediately because this is a dangerous cell. This is going to be one that does have the possibility of producing some strong gusty winds, even outside of any rotation. Also, the possibility of hail. One thing I'm noticing here, I'm going to play this out just for a second here for you, and watch as this tail is starting to develop here. That also could be some very heavy rainfall that we're seeing feeding into this system. So flooding potential. Joe mentioned it a couple minutes ago that there's flood advisories out in effect for Franklin and also up into Delaware counties because of the intense rain, and it's just basically moving over the same area right now, southern Delaware, northern Franklin County. That's where we could see some very heavy rainfall with this as well. So, Joe, you've been looking at two different distinct areas. Down to the south right now, we still have, that is no longer tornado warned, but as you were mentioning, the possibility over Washington Courthouse. What are you looking at?
Yeah, so that same spot that had that confirmed tornado warning, a tornado warning a little bit farther down to the south, that will stay in Clinton County. It's been extended likely as just a severe thunderstorm warning, and that will carry it into the southern half of Fayette County, extending even farther over to the east, and that will get it over into Ross County. Now, when we tracked that out a little bit earlier, the two areas were miles apart, where we were looking at the center of that rotation from what we were looking at with the tornado warnings, where we were anticipating potentially seeing it a little bit farther over to the east, mostly over around Fayette and over in Ross County here as well. For the moment, we're starting to see a little bit more of those heavier showers pushing into parts of southern Fayette County. So Ross County at the moment, not really seeing any of this weather right now, except for a little bit of light rain that might be moving through. But the tornado warning system itself is pretty much sitting on top of Wilmington, a little bit farther down to the south, where we're seeing these really intense lines of heavy rainfall, lots of lightning stretching along it here as well. A lot of that lightning has been building a lot farther to the back of that system. But what we've been looking at with this cluster has been the higher potential of seeing some of that flooding risk here as well, especially given that it's pretty much a horizontal line of severe thunderstorms stacking on top of each other. So when they train on with each other like that, that's likely when we see a lot of this rain stacking up. We can switch over to the rainfall rates to see how these things have been stacking up. Again, when you see that pink, that's a little bit closer to 5, 6, 7 inches of rain in just the span of an hour, and you have a lot of them back to back that are going to follow on top of each other and add in a lot more rainfall as we've seen building over into Indiana. So tracking out that as it's moved basically over the past couple of counties over to the west is a long line of a lot of heavy rainfall that we've seen move through, and accumulations wise, some of us have seen at least several inches of rain in the past 24 hours. That's where you're looking at spots that are in that yellow. That's getting you above 2 inches of rain total. Again, these are just remaining as estimates, but when you're getting a little bit more into those darker greens to those medium greens, that's where you're about an inch, maybe even to 1.5 inches, and then places that are in more of that blue, sticking to about 1/10 of an inch. So that's covering most of central Ohio, given that we've seen a little bit more of that wet weather early on. But switch it over to rotation, especially given that this has shown signs that there has potentially been a tornado, or at least the possibility of one moving through. It looks like that's starting to weaken a little bit, or given just the angle of how this is situated and positioned with the radar nearby. So that's at least a good sign. That's probably why at the moment it's been extended as just a severe thunderstorm warning once it gets itself closer into central Ohio. So we're going to keep our eye on that one as we go into the next couple of minutes. This severe thunderstorm warning, a long-reaching one, so that will still stretch over into Ross County, but land just short of going into Chillicothe, and that's going to extend up until about 11:30. So a lot more time to watch the system move through. That confirmed tornado warning over around Wilmington has now just been dropped, so we're only looking at that tornado warning, the regular one that's a little bit farther down to the south. A lot of the lightning is starting to move out of that polygon, that red polygon, so giving us a sign that this system is likely going to start to step into the box of what we're looking at here with that severe thunderstorm warning. And Dave, looks like the tornado warning south of Wilmington just got expired as well. So at the moment, just looking at severe thunderstorms.
Yeah, that is good news for our friends down to the south. Again, here near the city right now, we are tracking. It's eerily quiet right now. I just stepped outside a second ago just to hear what's going on. And you can see tons of lightning outside at this moment. You could hear the winds. You could hear the thunder off in the distance. And we are just a couple of miles away from where we are showing the rotation right now here on Live Viper radar. So what we look for is that couplet where we have the greens and the reds kind of mixed in together. And we're noticing that basically from about Worthington, so just basically north of the Ohio State campus, is where we are seeing this right in this area here. We're seeing this rotation right here near 315 and where High Street cuts over just north of Morse Road right there. That's where we're watching that rotation showing up here on Live Viper radar. Also the possibility here of seeing some strong gusty winds pushing through portions of Dublin down through Hilliard along Riverside Road, US 33 right there. We're going to see some gusty winds kind of bowing out from this cell, but this is where we're seeing the rotation near Worthington at this moment, and that is pushing still almost right down 161. So if you are in this area, you want to make sure you get to that safe spot immediately. You want to get to that innermost room of the house. You want to get to the innermost room of an apartment, one that does not have outdoor windows. That's what we're looking for when we talk about innermost, lowest safe spot that you possibly can get into. I'm going to zoom back out for a second here, show you that our shear path here, this kind of gives us an idea of where we have been watching for rotation. This was a cell that earlier this afternoon, or earlier this evening, I should say, did have a confirmed tornado near I-75. Notice on the rotation tracker here, weak rotation shows up in the green, strong in the red, and extreme, when we have a large tornado, typically shows up in yellow. Notice near Urbana, we had the strongest rotation showing up all the way over almost to Plain City. And notice this has shown a little bit of weaker rotation. That is a good thing as it has moved across or into and starting to move across Franklin County. It does not necessarily mean that there is no tornado. It could just be an indication that we are seeing a little bit of a broadening of that rotation. Obviously, we have a tornado warning in effect from about downtown Columbus, I-70, and on north right now, and just south of US 36 in Delaware County. So we're looking at the extreme southern portion of Delaware County, including most of Westerville, and just south of Lewis Center are under this tornado warned cell right now. This does appear to be traveling right along Highway 161, so that would take it near Minerva Park and just south of Westerville. I want to show you the rotation that we are showing up on radar at this moment. This is rotation at this moment, not the track itself that we were seeing earlier. And remember, I mentioned that we're seeing a little bit of that rotation near Worthington right in this area, but the gusty winds could continue just off towards the south and south, just to the west and southwest of where we are seeing that rotation. So moving between Dublin and Hilliard, just north of Ohio State's campus, we could have some pretty strong outflow winds starting to pick up as that storm continues to move across Franklin County. So I'm going to switch over to the radar out at the airport right now and see if we can pick up some of that. Yeah, you can see a little bit of that rotation. You can see that notch showing up almost. Let me zoom back in just a little bit more here. Let me clear this out and we'll zoom back into here where I'm seeing that notch showing up almost near, looks like, yeah, right about 270 on the north side, so the north outer belt, and right near I-71. I know we have a traffic camera in that area. We'll see if the folks in the back maybe could get that traffic camera at 270 north side at 71, see if we can get that traffic camera just south of Polaris. That's where we're starting to see some of that rotation. I would expect at a minimum near Sharon Woods right now, we are probably seeing some very strong damaging winds, starting to pick up some strong gusts in that area. Also the possibility of seeing some hail with these as well. But again, it's raining so hard, it'd be very difficult to see that out there, and a lot of lightning flashes as well this evening. So switching back over to radar right now, notice the heaviest of the rain now pushing into Westerville. We're still showing that rotation just off with every scan. It is moving off towards the east. So it's near the north outer belt, almost on the northeast side of town now, near Westerville. And that's going to continue to push right across Hoover Reservoir and eventually move into portions of Delaware and Licking County, the far southern portion, southeast portion of Delaware County. If you are in Delaware City, you are in the clear of this storm. In fact, you are not not under a tornado warning up in Delaware City. This is also north of downtown Columbus right now. I will move this map just for a second here and show you again. There is downtown Columbus right here where my hand is. Notice most of the activity in the northern quadrant, northern quarter of the city of Columbus. So we do have a camera right now. This is 70. Is this the 71 at 270 on the north side? Yeah, and you can see frequent lightning right now. Obviously a good sign the camera is working in this area, so the rotation has not touched down near the ground at this spot. But again, frequent lightning. The roads are going to be kind of difficult to drive on. Joe was talking about this earlier, but we've had some very heavy rain. We've got flood advisories in effect for this area too. So if you are in Westerville, if you are in New Albany, Johnstown, you need to be prepared to be in your safe spot at this moment for at least the next 5 to 10 minutes until this in Westerville passes by your house, hopefully without damaging anything. That is the concern tonight. That is why we are on the air. Again, 10:54 at night. We have been tracking this storm, which has had a history of producing tornadoes off towards the west of us and has been showing rotation for about the last 60 to 75 minutes now as it has been pushing off towards the east right now and nearing Westerville, showing some possibility of some hail as well. Joe, is that what you're noticing right now in the threats?
Yeah, especially that we've seen some of that hail potential has started to dip down a little bit more in size, especially what we're looking at here. More in these purples that show, or at least this dark purple, gives us more of the potential of seeing about ½ an inch in diameter. So that's even smaller than a penny. And even the hail path that we've been watching over the past couple of minutes has really started to putter out, just like what we were showing with the rotation tracker as well, Dave.
Oh, I'm sorry, Joe. We were trying to figure out where one of our live shots were real fast. I didn't mean to interrupt you there. We've been watching very closely with this storm right here in Westerville. So again, I'm going to go back to Joe for just 1 second here. Joe, what are you noticing? And sorry for the interruption there.
No worries. The hail path that we've been kind of looking at has been a lot less concentrated, especially now that we're looking at the system pretty much sitting on top of Westerville. Almost like the core of it has broken up a little bit, where some of it has gone north of the city, the other half of it has gone south of the city as well. And the diameter that we're looking at in this has shrunk a little bit, where potentially we were seeing quarter-size hail move in. Now we're sitting at less than a penny, at least in diameter and size as well. So still watching that threat at least start to lower a little bit. But what we're looking at here overall threat-wise is mostly just been some widespread rain stretching across the majority of this. That's why we still have that aerial flood advisory for a couple spots past where this system has been moving. So that it still includes Union and Madison County, a majority of Delaware County, and a northwestern sliver of Franklin County here as well, where the rainfall rates have really been stacking up, not just inside of these tornado warned storms, but also in the severe thunderstorm warned storms as well. But building in behind it is even some relief. We've seen a few of our central Ohio counties be taken out of the tornado watch so far. So that includes Logan, parts of Hardin, and even Champaign County as well. So even right behind a lot of these tornado warnings, they have been lifted out of the watch. So that's at least a good sign that there's nothing building in behind this as we continue to go throughout the rest of this evening. Again, the only tornado warning that we're watching here in central Ohio still remains in parts of Franklin, Delaware, and Licking County. National Weather Service is still watching this to see if it progresses a little bit farther over to the east, pretty much riding along I-70, but that would have to get it through the majority of Licking County, and then once it gets into Muskingum County, it takes over for the next National Weather Service office. And at the moment, it looks like they're thinking that this is going to continue to broaden at least in rotation, so still showing signs of weakening. The cluster that we're looking at down in southwestern Ohio still remains for the most part as severe thunderstorm warnings as well, so we can continue to watch that as it moves a little bit farther over to the east. We've got a track that's a lot closer to parts of Fayette and Ross County here as well, so that's likely going to maintain south of Washington Courthouse, at least with some of the heavier rainfall, but we're starting to see a lot more rain move into the southern half of Fayette County. But Leesburg, your timing is at around 11:04, South Salem at around 11:19, and Bainbridge in the southern part of Ross County, that'll put you a little bit closer to around 11:23. Again, this severe thunderstorm warning will go until 11:30, ending off just before it gets over into Chillicothe. So whether we see that extended as a severe thunderstorm warning or allowed to just stay as a strong thunderstorm, we'll continue to watch that once we get into the 11 o'clock hour. But Dave, I don't know what other looks you've been looking at here when it comes to the angle that we're looking at the metro area tornado warning.
So I think for the most part, this is going to stay north of most of downtown Columbus at this point. That is the good news if you are in downtown Columbus. Obviously, we want this to miss everybody, but we've had a very populated area where a very strong thunderstorm has moved through. As Joe was mentioning, tornado warning extends until 11:15 tonight. That does include southern Delaware County, northern Franklin County. It does include Westerville, New Albany. That's where the storm appears to be at this moment. That's where we're seeing the rotation. Off towards the left right there. Is that Isabel's shot that we have to the left right now, Todd? Okay, and Isabel, can you hear us right now? Where are you at and what are you seeing out there on the roads?
Yeah, Dave, we are on 33 headed back towards Dublin into Franklin County. We were driving through the storm a little bit earlier, I would say an hour and a half though, headed out towards Marysville. We hit some heavy rain, and now that we're headed back towards Franklin County, we're starting to run into that rain again. If we did see some big puddles, building up, so if you are out on the road right now, you do want to be going slowly. You can kind of see as we move forward, the rain is starting to come down heavier as I speak. There has been some wind as well, but again, rain has been the really big thing here. Again, we're on 33 headed in towards Dublin.
Thank you for that update. You guys, please be safe out there this evening. Obviously, we're keeping our crews as safe as possible, keeping them away from the core of these storms. Still want to show you what is going on. So we are just about at the top of the 11 o'clock hour, about 10 seconds away. We are starting our newscast tonight with severe weather coverage. We are watching a tornado-warned cell moving across northern portions of Franklin County. This is moving away from the city of Columbus at this moment. That is good news for folks that are in downtown Columbus. Now, you are still going to have a couple of isolated thunderstorms that do make their way into our area. You notice a lot more scattered activity off towards the west. This, at this moment, is not of the concern. What we are watching right now, and I'm going to switch the radar here to our radar site out at the airport quickly and show you what we are looking at. It is this part of this cell near Westerville, almost the southern portion right now of the Hoover Reservoir. You can see it near County Line Road here, just south of Maxtown near Tussock. This area right here, we're seeing a little bit of rotation here showing up near the county line right now, near Walnut Street. And that's what we're watching for, is that rotation as it continues to move over towards portions of far southeastern Delaware County, also into Licking County this evening. So again, we have severe thunderstorm warned cells down towards the south, including Fayette County and Ross County, but we are watching very closely this evening for these tornado warned cells, which does include the northeast side of Columbus at this moment, and also over towards New Albany, near Westerville as well, and then eventually moving into Licking County near Johnstown. You are still under the tornado warned cell until 11:15 tonight. So as I switch back to radar, you will notice some of that heavier rain already crossing the Hoover Reservoir, now just to the north of New Albany, right along 161 and 62 here near the exits there, and that will eventually be making its way basically down 161. It looks like it is going to stay on this trajectory just south of Johnstown, so it's not going to travel up 62. But again, if you are in this area, near Johnstown, and I apologize for that quick zoom in there, but if you're near Johnstown or just to the south of Johnstown along Highway 37 near Alexandria, this area from New Albany over towards Alexandria, you need to be prepared because this is still a strong thunderstorm that is still showing some broader rotation with it and is having a lot of rainfall, frequent lightning, and the possibility of some hail as it continues to move down 161 and eventually crosses over New Albany and over towards Alexandria. So I'm going to switch back over to the storm winds here for a second. You can see that kind of broader rotation that was showing up right near the Hoover Reservoir here, the greens, the reds. It's not really coupled in together that well. It's still there a bit, and that's what we're watching for. You can see in that latest scan right in this area, basically the southern part of Hoover Reservoir right there is where we are seeing that rotation. So just south of County Line Road near Walnut Street there, and that's going to eventually go over near Rocky Fork Metro Park and then eventually cross US 62. And it does appear that that rotation would take it on that track just south of Johnstown, but close enough that I would very strongly urge folks in Johnstown to be prepared. You've only got a couple of moments till it gets into your backyard. Notice when I switch back over to the radar product here, showing you the rain that's out there, it already is raining pretty strongly in Johnstown at this moment, and we are showing possibility of that rotation with some hail out ahead of it, just north of downtown New Albany, on the other side of 161 right there. You notice just north of where the grocery stores are at that exit, that's where we're seeing that rotation near Rocky Fork Metro Park right now. So that's going to continue to move over towards 62. And again, we've had throughout the evening hours tonight, we've had very heavy rainfall in this region as well. So that is going to be another concern once the tornado threat goes away, is where all this rain is going to go. And if you've got to get out over the next hour or two, hopefully you do not, but a lot of the roadways could have some standing water on them, making it potentially a little bit dangerous. So as we're going to go back for a second here, show you what is happening this evening. I'm going to clear the map out. We are sitting at 10:03 tonight. We have tornado warnings in effect for the northern portion of Franklin County. This has been cut back a bit. It includes even less of the city of Columbus. It does not anymore include Dublin, Powell. Worthington looks to be in the end of this tornado warned box. So in the clear from the tornado warned box, we've still got thunderstorms nearby. And then we've got additional severe thunderstorm warnings down to the south from Washington Courthouse in Fayette County, almost to Chillicothe and Ross County. Bainbridge are under this severe thunderstorm warned cell. We're keeping our eyes on that one. I know it's a severe thunderstorm warned cell and not a tornado warned cell, but it did have debris showing up on radar earlier as it was getting near Wilmington. So that still is a dangerous cell that we'll be watching. So going back now to our cell that we've got just north of downtown Columbus here on the map, 11:04 this evening. And you notice now the tornado warning polygon is now basically from Westerville down near Gahanna, Pataskala. You are in this because it is going to be very close to your backyard. Notice on the southern part of this cell, we've got these little loops right here. That could be some gusty winds starting to blow out of this thunderstorm down towards the south. So we may have some very gusty, strong winds pushing towards Gahanna and Pataskala. This cell, for the most part, has been pushing off towards the east over the past hour and a half to 2 hours. In fact, I'll show you the shear path on this, or the rotational path. And as I zoom back out a little bit, you will notice this thing setting up from near I-75 near Piqua, all the way through Urbana right here, through Plain City, and then over near portions of Dublin, just south of Powell, and then right along 161 northern outer belt, and just south of Westerville is where we've had that rotation showing up. So as I zoom back in, you'll notice it does not appear to be as strong in this area anymore. It's starting to weaken a bit. We're seeing these weaker colors here in the green. So it'll be interesting to see. Joe, have you noticed anything from the Weather Service yet, whether they're going to keep this going or not over the next 15 to 20 minutes once the warning does expire?
It looks like they're still watching it as it makes its way a little bit closer around Licking County. National Weather Service office that will cover it once it makes its way over into Muskingum is not really interested. They say that the rotation has started to broaden a little bit more, and I mean, that's what you were just pointing out on the rotation tracker. What we saw when this first started a little bit closer over to around Piqua and over around Fletcher, we saw that rotation start to pick up a little bit more, where we're seeing more of those clusters of red that carried across the broader stretch of Champaign County. But once it made its way over into Union and Madison, started to see a little bit more areas of green where that showed some weaker rotation moving in, really started to putter out as it made its way over into Franklin County. And now once we're looking at the rotation over around Westerville, and even as it makes its way closer to around New Albany, not really showing any signs of strong rotation, so still maintaining that weaker sign here as well. So I think for the moment, they're going to continue to watch it as it makes its way over into Licking County. Whether this gets extended past Johnstown and Pataskala, getting a little bit closer to Granville or not, will probably be up to them in less than 10 minutes from now when this expires at about 10:15. So still keeping our eye on that. But again, like we've been mentioning with a lot of these severe to strong thunderstorms that have been moving through, we've seen a lot of rain come along with them as well. No, we've been talking about the rainfall rate here as well. We saw Isabel moving through Dublin. The latest scan has shown some relief coming with that in the past couple of minutes, but still, where we're looking at the core of the rotation over between Westerville and New Albany is where we're still seeing those pinks show up, but those pinks representing a little bit more of a lower number this time around. So we're still seeing about 6.7 inches of rain in about an hour. We've seen a couple scans that have given us maybe about 4 to 5 inches of rain here as well in an hour. Again, these are in those localized spots, so we could see some impact impacts to the roadways, especially. We've gotten some reports out of the National Weather Service office that's a little bit closer to Cincinnati saying that along the northbound lanes of I-75, we've had a couple of vehicles that had been stalled along the roadway due to the localized flooding. Again, we've seen back-to-back severe thunderstorms down in that area, so not exactly as intense as what we've looked at here in central Ohio, or here in central Ohio, not as intense as what we've seen over in Cincinnati, but still a lot of rain has been falling in this area. I'm sure a lot of other local spots are still going to expect to see some impacts to flooding. We can hear it here at the studio here as well, the rain going back and forth a little bit more in Columbus. Still not included in that tornado warning, but radar is still showing a lot of heavier rain in the area, so still looking at that about to make its way over into Lincoln Village, south of Upper Arlington, and getting into downtown Columbus as well. So a little bit more rain on the way for those areas, but we're looking at this mostly starting to broaden out a little bit more, stretching farther north of what we're looking at here with the bounds of that tornado warning. So that's going to carry us into Sunbury. It's already mostly over in Johnstown, parts of Licking County as well. Getting a little bit farther up to the north in Centerburg, but Dave wanted to point out we have a lot more counties farther up to our north that have also been lifted out of the tornado warning once again. So that includes Marion, Morrow, and Crawford County. So pretty much once we're looking at these storms making their way across our area, it's showing us that we've got relief building in behind us as well.